Hey everybody, what's up? I'm back here today because, well, you guys asked for this video and I said that I was going to make it and then I never did. So I know we're a little late because I got this in July and it is now, well, November. It's been 4 months with the phone. But in reality, that's the only amount of time that I can really use a phone to determine whether or not it's decent or not. So sorry for not making this sooner, but I think you're going to be in for a little bit of a surprise today when I go over my in-depth review of the Z Flip 7. Alright guys, so basically I've had this phone now for 4 months. I've been daily driving it, and as far as the performance of the phone itself goes, amazing, bar none. It's an excellent phone. Now, there are some things it does leave to be desired. So if you're coming from a phone like an S23 Ultra, like what I had, you just have to know that your camera is not going to be anywhere near as good, right? My wife and I went out because we live in Iowa. Took some photos of the Northern Lights. I brought my business phone with me, which is my S23 Ultra, because I kind of knew that the phone camera on this wasn't nearly as good, but it really stood out when I took photos of the Northern Lights. So if you use your phone a lot for camera purposes or for photo taking purposes, would not recommend the Z Flip 7. Now, if you want an easy way to take a selfie, the Z Flip 7 is a great phone. Because you can take a selfie right from the front screen, count down, take your photo, that kind of thing. We did use that when we went to the pumpkin patch this year. So we took some photos in the giant rocking chair, and I was able to set my phone up on a little stand that they have there, and we could actually see how well positioned everything was before we took the shot, which was excellent, and still be able to use the more high power camera than the selfie cam that's behind that screen already. So the other aspect of the Z Flip 7 that I've really enjoyed is the size. It fits really well in my pocket. I have absolutely loved the fact that it fits all the way down in my pocket, and then there's still space for other things. That's been probably the best and greatest thing about this phone is the size. It's small, it's compact, and even with a case on it, it is still fairly small. So those are the good things about this. Battery life, pretty standard. It's not as great as my S23 Ultra was. And again, I'm coming from an S23 Ultra, so that's kind of what I'm basing this off of. Though nowadays, now that I'm running my business full time, I'm on my phone a lot more, researching things, looking at things, watching videos, learning things, that kind of thing. So now that I'm doing my business more full time, I kind of ramped up shortly after getting the Z Flip 7. So, all that to say, it's probably about the same as the S23 Ultra in terms of battery life based on my usage. So I watch a lot of YouTube, Facebook, I do reels, I upload things to YouTube, as is evident here, obviously, because I'm recording a video for you guys. But then now I want to get into kind of the nitty gritty, the issues that I've faced in using this phone. They say that it's not dust proof, and that's fine. I haven't had any issues with the hinge. The hinge, it actually works beautifully. There's no cracking, no nothing. And I sanded drywall with this thing in my pocket, and I accidentally left it on the counter once. And then I wiped off the hinge. Like I didn't have to wipe off the hinge because it was in a case, but it didn't get gritty then either. So it was exposed to the elements of dust. Sanding drywall is kind of, about the worst thing you could put one of these through, and it did really well, and it's still very, very functional. The one thing I don't like about this phone, and this is the primary reason that I am making this video today, is because I have gone through about 6 phone cases since July. So I had this little cheap one that I bought because it was going to be overnighted, and I wanted my phone to be protected. And my little cheap one was basically just a placeholder until my Spigen case would arrive, because Spigen is the case that I've always gone with because they're notoriously reliable, very good cases, no issues whatsoever. Well, I ordered up a Spigen case. It was navy blue with a yellow inside. It was pretty cool looking. And I put it on this phone, and I took off my little cheap $10 case that I ordered just to protect it for the time being. And the Spigen case lasted me 1 week. 1 week. And I forgot to bring my other cases down here to show you guys, because that would probably be the best thing to do. But when you pull this out of your pocket, it can be a bit of a challenge, because you do have to fish it out. That's one thing that the brick style smartphones do really well, is they sit up high in your pocket, so all you have to do is reach and it's an easy slide out. With one of these, if you put a case on it, there are all kinds of places that the case can get stuck in your pocket, right? And even if you don't have tight pockets, you just have normal, if you're not a girl pulling this out of your back pocket, for example, and you're a guy, you're just pulling it out of your front left pocket like I do every day, it starts to wear on the case. So the primary problem that I have experienced is the cases come in 2 separate pieces. There is a piece for the top that runs right along this edge and right over here, and then there's a tiny strip at the top there, and then there's a piece on the bottom, which I never usually have an issue with. So I went with a Spigen case, and that Spigen case basically left the hinge up here exposed. Didn't really protect it, which I was fine with. I'm like, whatever, that works. It was fine. The hinge itself is fairly sturdy. It's a good phone, so I didn't worry about it. Put the Spigen case on, and within 1 week, was it 1 week? Yeah, it was within 1 week. The portion up here at the top where it had that thin little line snapped. And when that snaps, the rest of the top starts sliding on and off, and it doesn't stay on. And then the top half of your phone, which is arguably probably the most important, since it has a camera, an extra screen, and half of your inside screen, is left exposed to potential damage. So, okay, I was like, whatever. Maybe I just got a bad Spigen case. That does happen, phone cases are bad. And not all phone cases are bad, but you can have one that's a little, whatever, not as good as everything else. Sorry guys, I got to reach up to the camera here. But basically, long story short, after I killed the Spigen case, I put my little $10 case back on, and the little $10 case lasted me, I want to say, probably about another month. And after that next month was up, that $10 case broke in the same spot. Okay, so is this a normal thing for this phone, or is it a normal, am I just expecting too much from cases that protect these? And it come to find that after ordering a D-brand grip case, and D-brand cases are excellent as well, that it breaks in the same place. But it broke after 3 weeks. 3 weeks I had that D-brand case on this phone, and it broke again, leaving my phone unprotected. And nobody goes around and carries their phone without a case. Samsung acts like you're gonna do it, so does Apple. Oh, look at the pretty color of the phone. Who cares? The color of the phone is usually hidden by the case that protects the phone, and you need a case to protect your phone. Otherwise, it's gonna end up cracked or broken or something like that. So for that reason, after all this time of using the Z Flip 7, I am, fed up. I'm tired of buying phone cases. I've bought 3 different phone cases, potentially 5, I think. Actually, there were 2 in the middle there somewhere that just broke the same way. And so because I'm fed up, what I'm going to do is switch over to this new S25 Ultra that I got over at Best Buy. And yeah, I got it open box. So it was on a deal where this phone was $800 basically, and it cost me no more than $800, which was fantastic. And you can't really get an S25 Ultra with 512 gigs of storage for $800. It was open box, it came with a charge cord, and the thing is in pristine condition, not a single scratch on it. So for those of you who were wondering how the Z Flip 7 journey was going, that's how it's going. It's not going anymore because I can't stand having to buy new cases all the time and being in between cases and not having a consistent feel. I've had the same case on my S23 Ultra for I guess it'd be almost 3 years now since the phone came out, and it's been fantastic. It hasn't broken. It's stayed exactly where it's supposed to, and there's been no situation where I would need to replace it. So the Z Flip 7 is no longer going to be my phone. I'm going with S25 Ultra. The other thing that I find really frustrating about this phone is that the fingerprint sensor obviously doesn't live under the screen on the Z Flip 7 because there's no place for it to be under the soft screen. I don't think it can actually read pretty accurately. So the fingerprint sensor lives on this button up here. So it took a lot of adjusting to get used to the fingerprint sensor being up there. But then even then, it's not very accurate. It doesn't read my fingerprint about half the time. And then, so I set up Face ID on it because I wanted Face ID. Well, Face ID did not work for me. I would look at my phone and it would say, face not recognized. And I set my phone up forever ago, well, back in July, with my face. And it was fine. And it worked fine. But now it doesn't. So I'm really looking forward to going back to a brick style phone. I know that probably to a lot of you, seems like a step backwards. Because the technology in the Z Flip 7 is quite impressive, and it still is a great phone. The functionality of the phone itself overall is excellent. It's just the form and the manufacturers that make cases for the phone that are doing an awful job of producing a case that actually, well, holds up to daily use. I don't know how much they user test this, running around. The best case was still the D-brand case. It actually had a magnetic hinge protector. So if you are going to buy a case, I know it only lasted me 3 weeks, but I mean, D-brand did make a good case for this phone. So I guess as far as case recommendations, I can't provide you one. And I'm sorry for that, but that's just kind of how it is. The phone itself, functionality-wise, Samsung nailed it. But I couldn't even find a case from Samsung that would hold up to the scrutiny of daily use of this phone. So I'm going to go ahead and start transferring my stuff over to my S25 Ultra, which I may do a video on this. It may not be worth our time because a lot of you guys, if you were going to buy an S25 Ultra, you already have. This phone is actually metal along the outside, which is a huge difference from what I'm used to. Because when I had the S23 Ultra, it was not metal around the outside. It also has a fair bit more weight to it, so it makes me wonder just how much more processing power and what's going on inside here. So I am excited to daily drive a new phone. I'm not excited to sign into all of my apps and other things again, because let's face it, that's the worst part of having to work on a phone or get a new phone, is transferring everything over. But for those of you who are interested in the Z Flip 7, just purely from a spec standpoint, I would say that it's a very good phone. I would say that if you are still interested in having something that will function well for you, the Z Flip 7 will definitely function well as a daily driver. In fact, it did better for me than my Google Pixel 7 Pro did when I originally bought that. It had no hiccups with uploading videos or editing videos right on the phone. And then some of the features were pretty cool where you could just set the phone up, like, flip it up like this basically to take a photo of yourself, like a selfie if you wanted to, or just a photo of somewhere else. So it's very neat. And then the magnetism of it is also pretty cool. It does stick to, it's not going to do it super well here, but it is magnetized on the back here as well. So it sticks to pretty much almost any metal surface really well. So the MagSafe capabilities are incredible in this phone. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have questions about this phone, drop them in the comments down below. If you like this content, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. I am sorry that it took me so long to make this one. If there's anything else you guys want me to make that I have not created thus far, you can always shoot me some suggestions. You can reach me at info@bgtechrepair.com, or you can tweet me at Brandon the IT guy. So I'll talk to you later.